So here we go. This is fucking hilarious.
Spoke to some officials in Florida who are currently on a crusade against CRT, which stands for...
By the way, I believe in CRT. I think Kyle Rittenhouse is a great example of why we need a framework like CRT to explain the bias. Just the bias. Because no one can sit here with a straight fucking face as a good actor, understanding all the systems and issues in the world, right? And really taking it in, can sit there and say in an honest way that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, that this would be going in the exact same way. Absolutely not. So we need something to help us figure out where is this coming from? What is this? You know, because I don't think that good old boy is a you know, a hardcore racist, right? Sure, he probably has some racism in him, but it's bigger than just the judge. It's bigger than just the jury. It's systemic. And there needs to be an analysis of where it's coming from and why it exists, because it's so fucking frustrating. You know, as a white guy, it's frustrating. You know, this little kid shouldn't, you know, this 17-year-old shouldn't be walking for his actions that were clearly documented. He should have put the gun down. Okay. He might have been okay if he just did the psychopath who fucking, you know, N-word this, N-word that, threw a plastic bag at him, then was, you know, I don't know if he was trying to get his gun or, you know, was just trying to, the idea, because no one can say for sure, like if the bald psychopath there that went after Kyle got the gun, that he would, you know, just start blowing him away. No, I think he was going to take the gun and just run away with it. You know, if it was just that one, you know, and then he puts the gun down and is like, whoa, dude, you know, I'm going to wait for the cops to get here. But no, he was really like into the cosplay. He was really into the cosplay. He really thought he was going to die. And if we're going to set a legal precedent that all you need to do, like, because we've already set the legal precedent that all cops need to do is feel scared to justify murdering you. So now we're going to be setting the precedent that, you know, if you're a white guy and you feel scared, you can just kill whomever you wish. This is a dangerous road. This is not wisdom. This is folly. And it's going to get more people killed. Who knows how many?
For critical race theory.
Bree the Bumblebee, welcome back. Didn't I scare you away last time? Wonder why you're back. It's so nice to see you.
I point that out for the people in the audience who are normal and not terminally online, who might not know what CRT means. So anyway, without further ado, let me show you a Florida official getting questioned on what exactly
thank you for the follow. So nice of you.
He's against and what he wants to fix. Take a look.
What did you see in those two books that you looked at? What
Thank you so much for that follow, Bree.
Critical race theory. What critical race theory boils down to is teaching kids to hate their friends, teaching them to focus on race rather than focus on character.
So let's look at some of these examples from the K through 5 books that you were objecting to the other day.
What I did was go through the teacher's manuals that are used to teach these books. And what you find is that it builds the foundation.
None of these books mention CRT or have anything to do with CRT. His point is that CRT is creating a foundation that these books are coming off of. CRT is, but I do know that it's not that. In a nutshell, CRT is critical race theory is a way to explain, identify, and eliminate systemic racism. So it's an analysis of, you know, why is there bias in our judicial system, you know, against black and brown people? What's causing that, and why is that, you know, where is that being reinforced? It's only taught in college because it's like a deep dive study of legalese and just really esoteric, constitutional law and things like that, like, and really doing a deep dive as to like, okay, what are the causes to some of this systemic racism? And it's a framework for understanding that. That's what it is. And what he's trying to say is that this framework is creating an atmosphere. It's that, but in terms of law. Yeah, thank you, Bohab James. Yeah. But what he's saying is that, this is creating racism to be taught in schools, and what they're doing is that they're using their misunderstanding of what CRT is to now attack and go after normal history lessons about racism, about the existence of racism, about the history of racism, and about how racism still exists, and where it can possibly come from in the modern day. So this genius here goes through the fucking, goes through the teacher's curriculum, goes through the teacher's books, and is like, oh, that's a mention of racism. Oh, that's a mention of, oh, white people are bad in this situation. It's like, yeah, white people were pretty bad in how they treated the Native Americans when they came to, when they landed in America. You think it would still exist when? Yes, absolutely. Because racism is ignorance, basically. So, as long as human beings have the capacity to be ignorant, racism will always exist. So it's not something you can fix forever, but it's something that you can identify and do your best to try and, understand and try to find empathy and try to eliminate it. But I don't think it can ever be truly destroyed because, like I said, it's rooted in ignorance. And I don't think human beings will ever be free of ignorance. Do you? That's kind of, I don't know, hypocritical. The people who defended the Confederacy because they have to remember history are now trying to stop kids from learning it. Yes, no, I mean, that's exactly, Bree. Why not what? You seem like a bad actor already, dude. You scream bad actor. Anyway, let's watch this.
Foundation for critical race theory, not on the 3 words of critical race theory, but it builds the foundation on culturally responsive training, equity versus equality, social justice.
Oh,
so
no.
Those are all innocuous terms in many people's minds, but when you look at how the left is now using those to drive...
Why can't human beings get rid of racism or ignorance? No, it's that. I mean, sure, that's a lofty goal, but that's fucking stupid. It'll never go away. Ignorance will always be here. We'll always have to combat it. The idea that what are we going to turn into? Fucking android robots that won't have our own biases and have our own, at the very least, intentional ignorance will exist. There's so much intentional ignorance. There's so many things that people would choose to not know and not understand. I think it's like you were black, you just get this feel that all along, but when it's them, God forbid. I mean, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing is a clear example of why we need CRT. The bias is clear. And 3, you're pissing me off, dude. I think if you piss me off one more time, I'm going to time your ass out. You fucking smell like shit, dude. That's you.
Drive the whole perspective of critical race theory.
What is the sentence in here?
Fuck off.
I'm not sure there is one.
There isn't.
The terms, see, that's where most.
No, I don't even mean the terms. I mean the concepts. What in the book conceptually do you object to that teachers will read this off?
Culturally responsive training is a whole notion in the book. Equity versus equality is a whole notion.
But that's in the book that the kids will read.
No, that's in the book the teachers are using as a guide to teach the kids.
Do you have the section where it says something about equity over equality?
No, he screams bad actor. Like the first couple words out of his mouth, it's just like clearly a bad actor.
Equity mentioned in the teacher's guide?
I don't recall. Equity, culturally responsive training is clearly identified.
I got buzzwords.
What is culturally responsive training? What does that mean?
I got the buzzwords, Daddy.
Culturally responsive training is a fancy term for multiculturalism. dividing people by
right,
ethnicity.
had enough of you.
Where is this from?
This is from the homework our team did.
Normally, I'd play the dumbass game with him, but I've you know, no, I just don't like him. But gone. Bye-bye.
So that's your language, not the language of the textbook.
It's language we found in the literature. I don't know what you're looking for, Mike.
I don't see anything in here that says that they're teaching critical race theory.
This is all very subtle. We've said that from the beginning. Critical race theory is a very subtle ideology that permeates.
Sleep is
not an ideology. Fucking Vice.
Listen, man, you want to make an intelligent case against critical race theory? I'm listening. I love debating all sorts of ideas. TJ Kirk and I had a phenomenal conversation on nihilism the other day and what that entails. I'm open to these discussions.
Yeah,
I'm open to these debates.
Stream,
I don't think
the way.
nothing held sacred. There's nothing off limits. Let's have a conversation about all this shit. But let's keep it real. Most of the people who are crusading against critical race theory have no fucking idea what critical race theory is. And that's not a hard conclusion to reach if you follow this stuff.
They don't fucking know.
I saw Fox News flipping out over it. It was the big, culture war scandal du jour on the right. And I was like, damn, I got to look into this. What's going on here? First thing I learned, they don't even teach critical race theory in elementary school, in middle school, or in high school. So www.whythefuckwetalingaboutthis.org.
No, I mean, and let's talk about why they're talking about this, right? Because this culture war shit is a great distraction as to, well, hey, how come you guys aren't doing anything for me? Like if we're like your great-great-grandparents were slaves, that sucks, but that means that someone else's great-great-grandparents own them, and that sucks, but I don't see what's wrong with saying both are bad. No, and there isn't. No, the only way we can move forward, the only way we can, eliminate, hope to eliminate as much ignorance as possible, because let's be real, we're never going to get rid of ignorance completely, unless you're a little dishonest Ben Shapiro clone. Actually, no. If you were a materialist, in fact, you would be, you would say that you could definitely eliminate ignorance through transhumanism or some bullshit. No. Let's be real. We're never getting rid of fucking ignorance. Okay, we'll just try to do our best to combat it. And that's why we should teach history. Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States should be taught in schools. That's some real information, really, well sourced, journalist quality level information about how people were treated during the birth of this country. We can weed it out of policy, though. Yeah, and we can try our best. That's where checks and balances and transparency comes in, and and that's where. But if we don't support and reinforce those systems, we're lost. We can have our democracy if we can keep it, and we're not keeping it. I'm going to be playing a video here coming up, way deeper into the playlist here, but we're gonna be watching a video from Arami Aussie Frimpong here. And he goes into this really, really well, about how, well, we'll just get to that a little bit. But, we got a clip that actually pertains to what we were talking about there. So anyway, let's finish this one up.
What are you doing?
But not out
Why
of
are we
people.
talking
No, you'll never get it out of people. Come on. We'll never get it out of people.
about this? Okay, let me give you guys, I went to the Always
Not
Trust You
completely.
Wikipedia.
Shut the fuck up.
And let me give you the first.
Those kind of trolls are what they're trying to do is derail the stream and waste your time, right? Because they think it's a fun game because now they're in control of your stream, right? So that's why it's like time for you to go, right? We've already spent too much time talking about him, right? He might be watching and fucking. They're talking about me. I'm such a control. I mean, they're fucking degenerates, okay? So just fucking scoot along, little boy.
Portion here. Here's the first thing they say about critical race theory. This is fascinating. They say critical race theory is a framework of analysis and an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists who seek to examine the intersection of race and law in the United States and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. CRT examines social, cultural, and legal issues primarily as they relate to race and racism in the U.S. A tenet of critical race theory is that racism and disparate racial outcomes are the result of complex, changing, and often subtle social and institutional dynamics rather than explicit and intentional prejudices of individuals.
So, and like I said, the Kyle Rittenhouse case is a perfect example because we got this good old boy judge, God bless America, clearly antagonistic against the prosecution. But it's not just him. The problem is not just him. He's a part of this, right? And he's on the side that supports, its further degradation, right? But like it's deeper and it needs to be finally understood. And that's what this is coming from. That's what this is about. It's so essential. If you as a person on the left, right, that doesn't mean you have to be like, because like the right mischaracterizes CRT as, oh, you're teaching my white kids to be ashamed of being white. And it's like, as a neoliberal politician, this is what you should say. That's not true. That's not what CRT is. And let me talk about policies that I'm going to do, that I'm actually planning on passing to make your lives better. That's how you handle that debate politically, right? You save the deep dive nuance for Charlie Rose. Okay. But when you got a right winger across from you and you're fucking battling, and he's like, CRT, you support CRT. You think you want to teach our kids to be racist. You go, that's not what CRT is. Let me tell you what I'm going to do for you. Okay. You nip it in the bud and then you go to, you don't go, this is what CRT is, yada, 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 yada. This is basic shit. Like Machiavelli would be so pissed at the modern Democratic Party. You know what I mean? Like they're not even being the Harlem Globetrotters opposition. What are they called? They're not even being the fake forced opposition really well. They're not even doing that right. Because they're straight up going to be telling voters in 2022, aw shucks, we tried. We tried with Build Back Better. Aw shucks. And it's not even close going to work. They're going to fucking crash and burn in 2022. There's no substance to it, like the war on Christmas. They're just making random BS up to attack the left. Well, not just attack the left, but also to get their supporters, kind of give them a salve, right? Because it's like, they're suffering. Their constituency is poor, lower middle class or lower, right? Rural people that are not benefiting from any of their policies, right? So you got to give them some red meat somehow, right? So not only is it an attack on the left, which it shouldn't be an effective one, but sometimes it can be. If the feckless opponent, the feckless Democrat lets it work. Anyway, my brother also taught CRT was being taught in schools and told him IT's only in college and universities if you were becoming a lawyer. Then he said, oh, I didn't know that. Thanks. I didn't know that. Thanks. So anyway, I'm going to keep repeating all the shit that Hannity told me. Anyway, I'm going to keep repeating all that Tucker Carlson shit that he said to me. Basically, I don't speak any longer. He's a total racist chud. Another one bites the dust, huh, Lee? The war on ignorance continues.
You know what that just said? That says, look, when we talk about racism, the problem is not that Bob in Mississippi is racist or politician X is racist or any individual is racist. That's not the problem. The problem is the system. The problem is the structures. So, for example, the drug war. Yes, the drug war on paper, well, there was a time when it was explicitly along racial lines because they had tougher punishment for crack cocaine than regular cocaine, even though they give you the same high. Why? Because it was more black people who were using crack and more white people who used cocaine, so the punishment for crack was much harsher. But this is a great example. So on paper now, there's no racialized language around the drug war. It says, yeah, if you do this drug, it's a crime. If you sell this drug, it's a crime. That's what the law is outlined like.
By the way, thank you, Bree and Lee and Bohab James, for sticking around. I see you in the chat there. Thank you so much.
But the way it's enforced is disproportionate in that it targets communities of color much more. Again, this isn't conjecture. This isn't opinion. This isn't from Kyle. This is a fact. We've seen the numbers. We've gone over the numbers. For selling drugs, same thing. For another great example in the criminal justice system, the death penalty. If a black person and a white person commit the same crime, a black person is much more likely to get the death penalty than a white person.
No,
So
these things are obvious.
Again, the point is...
They're obvious because they happen literally every single day. The numbers show it. You know, black people are a smaller portion of the population, yet they make up a larger portion of the prison. What the hell is going on? Like, as a white guy, I want CRT because I'm not interested in supporting this racist system. I'm trying to be an ally here, you know? And then I got people telling me that, you know, because I live and breathe, I support, you know, this racist system that's holding them down. And it's like, yeah, I think you're right. My taxes, you know, my acquiescing to politicians, you know, whims and, you know, all this stuff, it clearly is supporting something that is perpetuating racism. So what can I do about it, right? And then people get frustrated, like, oh, you know, you're not being a good enough ally. Well, I want to know what I can do. And that's where CRT comes in, because it can say, oh, well, this is actually where this shit is coming from, right? And if we do this kind of policy, you know, let's experiment with this policy. Let's experiment with that policy, right? Let's experiment with this regulation, right? Because clearly reparations and, you know, well, what's that? Affirmative action, you know, like these things, they, you know, they don't work as well as you would like them to. Yeah, exactly, Bree. I love that little emoticon there. Perfect. You know, I'm trying to figure it out. I want to help. You know, I'm trying to figure it the fuck out. Because what can I do? What can I do about the melanin? You know what I mean? I can't change this shit. I'm not going to walk around like Rachel Dozanel in fucking brown makeup. Right? So what the fuck can I do about it? Right? Outside of identifying it. Right? So I support things like CRT because I want to figure out what the fuck I can do about this shit. And, you know, I feel like other people should feel the same.
The problem is not individual racists. You can shame somebody and wag your finger, oh, that's racist, all day long. That accomplishes Dickie McGeezax. What they're saying is, it's the system that matters. Fix the system. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I talk to right-wingers, and I make the point I just made, they're actually happy when you say the problem isn't individual people being racist. They're like, right, yeah, damn right, you're right about that. The problem is the system and the structures. Yeah, we could change that, make the system more fair and just. That is the very first thing it says about critical race theory on the Wikipedia page. And the right flips out over critical race theory as if the point of critical race theory is...
Yeah, well, and that's where we need academics to, you know, to do the deep dives, to figure out how this is being perpetuated through our system. How can a judge like the one that we have with the Kyle Rittenhouse case continue to have a job acting like that in a court of law? There's no checks and balances against that, right? So maybe a suggestion from, you know, from scholars who are studying critical race theory could be like, there should be a check and balance on judges that have a certain conviction rate, right, to ensure that there isn't bias, something like that. Oh, blah 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 blah. You know, no. Like, if you're a judge and you're sending people to fucking jail, you deserve extra scrutiny. I'm not tripping. You know, you wear the robe, you sit in the man sits in a chair with a goddamn roof. It has a fucking roof on the chair. Okay? No. You get to, you know, fuck with people's fates. You get extra scrutiny. It should be part of the job, right? To be like, hey, what is up with this? Every time you got a black guy in here, you're giving him, you know, triple sentences. What's the deal? Right? I'm not racist, blah, blah, blah. He was a criminal, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you got a white guy with the same exact situation. You fucking give him probation. You know? Why are you doing that? You know, like, judges should be checked. I feel we should also end the war on drugs too. I mean, obviously. Look at me. But he was a good guy. Oh, I knew he looks like my cousin. You know, it's like, you know, there are things like, but without a framework, without some kind of backbone to, you know, to understanding where the actual sources of this is, it's hard to pass that legislation. It's hard to get to that policy point, right? I think, once again, I think it's a valuable thing that we should be absolutely supporting. Because goddamn it, I want to figure this shit out, and I wanted to get the fuck out of here so we can talk about going up into space and fucking, you know, having zero G sex. You know what I'm talking about? Hell yeah, man. Let's get it on in space.
Is to call individuals racist all day long, when that is explicitly not the point of critical race theory. Now, by the way, again, I don't know why we're talking about this. It's not in elementary school. It's not in middle school. It's not in high school. Critical race theory is a graduate level course.
Yeah. So
what happened? Well, the right found their culture war issue of the day, and they went all in on it, and they defined the terms of the debate, and they hammered, and they hammered, and they hammered, and they hammered, and they got a fake moral panic going on. That's what happened. And again, this is what the right does so well.
Yeah, no, and it's like calling everything you don't like anti-Semitism, you know, or anti-American, right? It's just like they're calling anything that they perceive as white racism now as CRT, because they can't, you know, white racism doesn't really, but yo, I don't like CRT. It's like, what's CRT? They're teaching our kids to hate everybody. Oh, I don't like that. Yeah, me neither. I don't like CRT. Like a goddamn South Park episode.
They changed the conversation to culture war bullshit. You know, something with Dr. Seuss, or Big Bird said get vaccinated, or Mr. Potato Head is now just Potato Head, and I'm so fucking outraged by that. Oh my God, there's now a diverse character in a superhero movie. Who gives a fuck? I don't care. I don't care about any of it. I care about a $15 minimum wage. I care about unionization. I care about getting people health care. I care about ending the wars and stopping drone bombing babies in Afghanistan. That's what I care about. That's what I care about. Now, the problem with the left is they go follow the right down the rabbit hole and talk about the culture war bullshit. But look, I don't even need to give any commentary. This is a guy who's leading a crusade in Florida against critical race theory. He can't define critical race theory. He doesn't know the first thing about critical race theory. He's not even saying the problem is the textbooks. He's saying the problem is the thing that the teachers read that they then use to talk to the children. And then when he's asked to cite something, he doesn't even have that material. He cites the thing that was the summary of the people in his office. I don't care about what the people in your office think. That's all opinion. That's all spin. I care about what
Someone
does it actually
on Twitter
say.
said this is terrible.
So listen, in conclusion, we actually do have a really deep problem in the education system in the U.S.
Yes, we do. We actually do.
And it's sort of the opposite of what this guy's talking about. The biggest problem I see is the uber patriotism fake bullshit. You know, they have textbooks in Mississippi and Texas where they put this incredible spin on history, where they pretend like the U.S. is the world's beacon of freedom, and we're the one indispensable nation, and we're the world's sole superpower, and we're the world police, and American exceptionalism is true, and let me give you a totally whitewashed history of the U.S.
Oh, Bree, that's so nice. Well, don't worry, it grows back. The shit doesn't stop growing. Maybe he's born with it, huh?
As to how great we are. That's bullshit. Now, are there great things about the U.S.? Yes, I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I love freedom of speech. I love the New Deal. You know, there's a lot of things you could talk about. The Civil Rights Movement, wonderful. There's a lot of great parts of American history. You know what else there is? A lot of disastrous parts. There's the genocide of Native Americans. There's slavery. There's segregation. There's intense corruption. There's imperialism. So the real thing you should be teaching is...
And it's frightening. Because we're you know, there's headlines now that are showing that there's some right-wingers interested in burning books again. They're getting real fascistic with it. So we should definitely be on the lookout for sure for this kind of stuff. Because, you know, it's so funny how, like, the times change, but this kind of ignorance always looks the same. This kind of barbarism always looks the same. You know, this raw destruction, this raw rejection of history, and, you know, the destruction of context so that a new reality can be created. It all looks so similar. You know, it all looks so goddamn similar.